So hi everyone. Where are we going in the rest of this year? Well, I've been talking about that in previous videos. I've been pondering it over the last couple of weeks and months, but today I received a request from a young entrepreneur client of mine who lives both in the US and Nicaragua, asking very specifically, I feel this is a really important time and we need to take action. What's happening in the next 3 to 6 months? So in response to that, I decided to do this video and address it very, very specifically. So I've talked a lot in the previous videos about how this year has been going through waves. And it started off early in the year with a really challenging one to the whole structure of the system, and then starts unfolding with putting that together in an expansive way that doesn't deny the past. So, first bit of news. If you think it's time for a revolution, well, you're right. We are evolving over the next 7 or 8 years in a way that humans have never experienced before. And that's going to be a profound change that in the simplest terms means we're going to be no longer, or setting up a foundation of a system where we're no longer driven by emotion, but we're using emotion as a form of gaining greater clarity and awareness about what our potential is as human beings, and then applying that in the real world. So, if you think a revolution means tearing down the old system, destroying the old, and replacing it with something new, you're completely lost in the old paradigm. That's what's been going on for thousands of years. What's happening now is we're taking the best and the lessons of the old paradigm, going back thousands of years. The experience, the understanding, the wisdom, the mistakes, all of it, and going, okay, what do we learn out of that? And then can we apply it to creating something new that truly works in the real world, and we do it consciously. We use our instincts to thrive. We use our mental awareness to measure and understand what works and how we can apply it in the real world. And we use our emotional awareness, rather than being driven by emotion, to learn how to be far more aware in the way we relate to each other, no matter how different we are. Now that sentence is dynamite. We need to acknowledge our differences, not just in terms of cultures and lifestyles, but the fact that each one of us is a unique individual and therefore different from each other. And we harness those differences to create something that works in the real world and is far more conscious than what we've done in the past. And that means using the best of the past and stuff that comes from the future that works in the present. And the reactionary trend at the moment is to just dress up, this is new, in what has not worked in the past. Burn down the system, start something new. And here's the key to change. Recognize, acknowledge, forgive, and then change happens. Recognize what has worked and what hasn't worked in the past. Acknowledge it and own it. And you can do this personally. You can do this culturally, politically, in terms of sport, in terms of the way you've trained yourself to be healthy, any area in business. Recognize, acknowledge, own it. Hey, we did this consciously or unconsciously, but own it, take responsibility for it. Forgive what didn't work and celebrate what did, what brought out more of our humanity, whether it's in terms of art, sport, business, healing, ending poverty, ending abuse between people, between races, whatever. Where did we succeed? Celebrate that. Where we didn't, forgive so that change can happen. Not blame, forgive. So that's the first thing in answering that question. The next 3 to 6 months, the action to take is growing up through recognizing, acknowledging, forgiving, and changing. Mature the system, mature yourself, learn to grow up. Now, if you're 16, you're 16. If you're in your 20s, you're in your 20s, you know. But now we're conscious, very, very conscious of what people go through during those periods of time. I go swimming at the beach and I'm 71, almost 72, and I just look at it and it's like, I watch the little children, and then I watch the more grown-up children, and then the teenagers and the 20-year-olds and the 30 and 40-year-olds, and it's sort of like, wow, you just see all the different stages. And they need to be loved and respected and seen for what's great about them, as well as where we mess up or we do stupid stuff. And then go, okay, where's the beauty in that? Where's the magic in that? Rather than focusing only on the tragic. Because, you know, people do get hurt at all stages of their life. You know, you see it now with the elders. They're, in the West, they're so disrespected in so many ways. So it's looking at that and goes, what's great about that? What isn't working? Recognize, acknowledge, forgive, or celebrate, and then incorporate that into the change. And these are very practical actions. Now, why is action so damn important? Well, I've said this before, but I'll repeat it again. Mars usually takes 1.5 to 2.5 months to go through each sign. And in late June, it went into Aries, which is its natural sign. And it's going to stay there for over 6 months until January the 7th. Now, spending so long in any sign, and especially Aries, the sign that it's at its strongest, hasn't happened in 500 years. And it's happening right now. June the 28th, it entered Aries. A few weeks ago, it got to about 28 degrees Aries, and then went retrograde, and it's in retrograde now till about the 13th, 14th of November. And then it turns around and leaves Aries in January the 7th. Now, you just have to look at what's going on in the world and the political election coming in America, and it's sort of like, whoa, Mars has been going through Aries almost to the end, where it's demanding action that's done honestly. You might call it radical honesty. You know, that what are people really doing? What are you really doing? What do you really want to do if you're running a business? How do you want it to operate honestly, not theoretically? What actions do you need to take? Well, we've had our first run from June the 28th till a week or so ago. Now we're going back over a lot of that until after the American election, the middle of November. And then we're going to give it another run till January. And that is why the action is so important. It's going, you've got 6 months. If you look at Mars for the rest of the next year or so, it goes through each sign like 2 months, 1 and 1.8 months. It just rips through. But it really stopped here. And then at the same time, it interacted with Jupiter, with Saturn, and with Pluto, all in Capricorn, which happens to be the place where Mars is exalted. Now, Pluto's been changing the structure of society since before 2008, and it will to 2023. But it's no longer going through this death and destruction stuff. It's going through death that leads to regeneration, rebirth in a regenerated form filled with new life. It's going through transmutation, transformation, transcendence. It's evolving the whole structure of what we think of as authority, the structures of our society, what it means to mature and grow as a human being. What are your goals in business? They're being rewritten at the moment. What are you trying to achieve in business? And this has been going since 2007 to 2023. So it's not destroy the system, it's rebirth it in a regenerated form, give it new life, bring it to life, transmute, change the structure in a way that is a mutation of a positive form, transform it, reform it, so that the problems we had in the past are no longer, we've transcended them, not destroyed them. We've risen above it with something better. We've come up with a better solution. Now, to answer the question that my friend Rebecca sent from Nicaragua, look at your goals. Whether they be in business, whether that be to help the world, whether it's in finances, whether it's in relationships, it'll depend on your particular unique nature. Look at those goals and restructure them. You know, this is the time we need to see our weaknesses, but not use them to blame. We need to recognize them, acknowledge them, forgive them, so they can change. We need to see where we've succeeded, recognize, acknowledge it, celebrate it so that we can change. If you don't celebrate it, it won't change. We'll just go back repeating the same old lessons without ever acknowledging where we succeeded. So do that for your personal goals, for your relationship goals, for your team goals, for your business goals. And there's very specific things you can do there, which we don't have the time to do in this video, but that's something I can really help people with. If you've got a great initiative, I can energize and support that and bring that to life. And many of you have gifts to either initiate that, energize that, manifest it, guide it, depending on your nature. Or just reflect that, hey, this is a cool thing that's happening. Let's move with it. And it boils down to actions that you take that honestly come from your nature, whether that's the spiritual dimension of you or the physical way you are designed to operate in this world, and how the two of them work together, because they don't work separately. They integrate together. So that's the first thing. Real, honest, meaningful change that adds value, that's done consciously through deliberate choice, and then checking that those choices are good decisions for you, because you check with your inner authority, is this choice a great decision for me, for my family, for my team, for my business, for my community, for my culture, for this world, for humanity. Whatever level is that you operate on right now, it's time to take positive action, honest action, not positive, like clear, this is honestly what I want. And it will benefit my goals, my community, what I care for, and humanity. These are healthy goals. These build on the past, but take us into a future that the past only dreamt of. We're here to manifest it this year and in the years, the rest of this decade ahead. The second thing is this needs to be done in a way that's responsible and disciplined, but expansive as well. Saturn and Jupiter, if you know that sort of stuff. And the whole of this year, once there was the initial trigger in January, once that was initially triggered, then the rest of the time is like Jupiter dancing with Saturn and Pluto. The three of them are very close to each other at the moment. You can even see Jupiter and Saturn if you go out in the night. It's a clear night. You can see them there. And Pluto's right smack in the middle of them. And Mars has been like going, okay, let's get honest. What is going to achieve our real goals to grow and evolve as a humanity? Is it going to be blaming and shaming and attacking? And no. To be frank, no. That's just going to keep us stuck in the past. It's going to be recognizing, acknowledging, forgiving or celebrating, and then allowing the change to unfold. And that change is going to come through you as an individual, through the actions that you take. If they are actions you honestly want to do, that benefit everything that you're involved with, by producing maturity, clear goals. And a couple of the ways it's going to show up is it's going to show up as relaxing you and allowing forgiveness and celebration to kick in your life. And it's going to show up as it's feeling the consciousness that you do it in is going to not only feel good, but produce actual real value for people. So, what's going on for the rest of these months? Mars, that dance, Saturn and Jupiter are in Capricorn, and early next year they move into Aquarius. They kick off each other, they meet together, and it's like what did we learn in 2020 that we can apply consciously, either in consciousness, technology, people working together globally, in teams, in communities? Now, what this is going to mean for each one of you is, it's like, how can I serve? How can I achieve goals that really serve bringing people together effectively, working in great teams, having, whether it's using technology or using the technology we have here and within our bodies, our consciousness and our design? How do we marry those two things together in a way that are really grounded and responsible and, mature, and at the same time expansive and positive? It allows for a wide variety of points of view. So it's not, are you for it or against it? It's like, how can we incorporate different approaches to life, different types of people, different types of culture, in a way that's obviously so beneficial and so much helping? See, that's what's going to challenge people to give up narrow-minded thinking, is coming up with a way better option that's it's worked throughout history, and it's going to work even better now. It's so bloody obviously better that people are going to adopt it, because they'd be crazy not to. Not because it's imposed, not because we're right and you're wrong, but because this is a great resolution. This is a great option. Now, is it all going to happen at the end of this year or the beginning of next year? No way. There's a ton of resistance out there. Now, what that requires is, there's a ton of resistance to this change. And as I've said in other videos, strength is what gives you the ability to work through this over time, but power brings about rapid change, fast change. And power is sourced in being more open to the receptive, open. And my business partner likes to call it human potential, because it doesn't trigger things for people. But it's really working with the power of the feminine, which is the source of power, in a way that strengthens the masculine. Now, whether that's within you as an individual, whether you're male or female, or between men and women, or between more receptive societies versus more assertive societies, whether that's in businesses that are the same, where you have to be active and assertive, like the military and the police, it's just part of the job, or whether it's with service industries, which are more receptive. How can I help? Customer service, health industries, various health approaches, which are more caring. And yet, without those, the more active things can't work. That's the empowerment of potential. But if you don't know how to receive power so that you can change rapidly, then you'll never have the strength to deal with what needs to be dealt with. If you don't nourish the army, it falls, it dies. Now we're going to be using them for not only protection, but for thriving. Not only for offense, but making sure people are safe and they can thrive in that sort of environment. So where do you bring to the table your power and your creativity, plus naturally you have the strength to keep going because you love what you're doing. It's natural for you to, you know, someone was saying to me in health that when you get that strength, it comes because you've got a reason to live. You've got somewhere to place your power and your creativity that isn't a flash in the pan, but it's got a reason to be there. And at my age, that's what you're looking for. You know, what adds to my strength? Where does the power and support come from? Now, that's going to be a different answer to each person. But again, we're at a time in history where there are no fixed answers. There are things that you might call eternal truths. If you eat healthy food, you'll tend to live longer. You know, if you eat unhealthy food, you'll get sick, you know, you'll get sicker quicker. But within that, each person has a unique digestion. Each person lives in a unique environment. Each person brings a unique perspective to the world. And each person has a unique awareness that only they can share with other people. That's where their outer authority comes from. And each person has a unique way of making decisions that, when that is honoured and respected by themselves and other people, leads to great decisions with all the choices we have available now. It's not a lack of choices. It's making choices that are great decisions. And so the next couple of months, as Mars goes retrograde, we're really going to be looking at making great decisions. And it's not going to go direct until after the American election it'll go direct on the 14th. Now, whether you're an American or whether you have nothing to do with that, what's really up is to make conscious, clear decisions that are good decisions for you, for your life, for your family, for your team, for your business, for your community, for humanity. It's your unique character that's going to bring that out. And that decision-making process is built into your body. It's not mental. This is brilliant for measuring, for results, for checking things out. But to make great decisions, it's got to come from your body and turn your body on and benefit you physically and benefit other people physically. And then afterwards, you can explain how that worked. And the second thing is, however your design is, you're looking for emotional clarity more than you're looking to be driven by emotion. We're still driven by our emotions. Well, I'm not saying deny that. But what part of your emotions bring you greater clarity? That's where we're developing. And can you bring emotional clarity, whether you're defined emotionally or not? Can you bring emotional clarity to your life? You might need to act from that point, or you might need to look for it in other people. And which people are mentally clear so that you can measure things in a way that keeps your feet on the ground. You can imagine things that doesn't supersede your need for inner fulfillment. but actually comes from your inner fulfillment. Now, in answering Rebecca's question, it's almost like, give me a couple of quick things that'll, well, look, honor yourself, be honest with yourself, and really examine your goals, and be honest about how you best get there. It's a simple way of putting it, you know. Is there real value? Become conscious of that. Does it give you the ability to relax, forgive, and celebrate? Is the way I described earlier. And does it honestly bring healing rather than separation? Does what you do bring more healing into your life or separate you? Now, not everything is going to want to heal. Just because, you know, life is a gift filled with love, not everybody likes love or even wants it. On one level they do, but, you know, some of them see it in weird ways. Some people see it in weird ways. And even within that, there's a massive healing that'll bring you a much deeper form of love. But not everybody's going to want to do that. But if you're interested in this video, you're looking at what do I do that helps me reconnect with, remember love in a way that's genuine and authentic and makes a real difference in my life. How do I love myself as a unique individual that's different than any other and has a unique voice and a unique inner authority for making your own decisions and a unique story to share, an outer authority to share with the world? Then, how do I create healthy relationships where we join together and 1 + 1 = 11, where there's a real win, but that requires resolving our differences, which is powerful healing. It's not as easy as it sounds at all. But the healing that comes from it is awesome. And then what you generate through that healing, the motivation to even go through it, is what you 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 people can create together. And that is beyond our imagination because of the potential we have now. But it requires us to imagine something that gives us hope, and then an openness to discover there's so much more available. So you put together a seminar or a product, and you hope this helps people. But if you're not open to discovering that what you are trying to create is potentially, and I mean this, not just potentially, it could possibly vaguely happen like winning the lottery. The potential is there for it to become so much greater than you imagine. And you stay open, you stay on track, you have your goals, you've got your vision, but right now, what life is capable, what we as human beings are capable of is so much more than we understand. So that you have that openness plus practicality working together. And whatever happens, whether you interpret it as the media does as horrendous or difficult or stressful, or whether you see it as love and light and it's all going somewhere, it's both and more. However you interpret that, This is what we're just being confronted with in the next 3 to 6 months. Life is evolving, you're evolving, however you imagine it being. Discover how much greater what life has to offer can be. And those who really seriously resist, because that's what they choose to do, are going to make out it's worse than you've ever seen it. And they can create that for themselves if they want to until they've had enough. But what's really happening is life isn't waiting, but it is offering us, and it wants us to participate in an evolution, in a growth that's going to be challenging, but not victimizing. It's going to be highly creative, and it's going to require that we care more about our existence and our life and each other than ever before. So I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to make this too long. But I want to thank Rebecca for asking that question. If you're interested in getting more specific stuff, I can help you or find someone who can. Because it's so important now that we own our unique identity and at the same time blend it together. We need to help each other and we need to respect ourselves and bring that to the table so that we can work out how to honour each other as individuals and at the same time work together as never before. So I'll leave it at that. Great talking to you. Thanks, Rebecca, and hopefully see you soon.